There is a strange moment in healing that no one prepares you for. It doesn't come wrapped in clarity. It doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like a quiet death, a soft betrayal of your former self. Because healing, true healing, doesn't just mend what's broken, it kills what was false. You don't just lose pain, you lose people, you lose habits, you lose identities that once made you feel safe. And the world you once belonged to, it begins to resist you. Not because you've become worse, but because you've stopped being predictable. This is the moment they turn on you. Healing isn't light and candles and gentle quotes on Instagram. It's brutal. It's unlearning the version of yourself that survived dysfunction and relearning the version that never got to exist. When you break the pattern, you interrupt the roles others placed you in: the fixer, the caregiver, the emotionally available one, the one who always made room, always stayed soft, always kept the peace. The moment you stop performing that version of yourself, people begin to feel something unfamiliar: discomfort. You're no longer useful in the way they're used to. You no longer bleed on demand. You stop answering calls that only come in crisis. You stop being the emotional cushion for everyone else's instability. And suddenly, your healing feels like a threat. They say, "You've changed." But what they mean is, you've stopped enabling me. You've stopped feeding my need for control. You no longer tolerate the version of me that needed you small. They don't miss you. They miss the version of you that asked for nothing, that gave endlessly, that never challenged their role in your pain. And now that you have boundaries, now that you're reclaiming your time, your peace, your voice, they call it selfish. But you've simply learned self-sacrifice isn't a virtue when it feeds manipulation. Compassion isn't love when it's fueled by fear. And kindness isn't genuine when it costs you your soul. This is the part no one talks about: the desert between who you were and who you are becoming. You'll be misunderstood. You'll feel isolated, not because you're lost, but because the people around you were never meant to meet this version of you. You'll look around and wonder, where did everyone go? But the truth is, they were never truly there. They were attached to the mask, not the face beneath it. They were bonded to your wounds, not your healing. And now that you're whole, they no longer know where to stand, because you no longer bend. Here's what most won't admit: your growth shines a light on where others have stayed stagnant. It forces them to see what they've ignored in themselves, to confront their own unhealed patterns, their fears, their stagnation. You didn't mean to become a mirror, but by rising, you reflect their refusal to rise. And for some people, that reflection is unbearable. They won't say it, but they'll begin to criticize your voice, minimize your evolution, mock your boundaries, call you too much, or too distant, or too intense. Not because you are, but because you've become everything they've denied in themselves. This part hurts the most. Some of the people you love deeply won't survive your evolution. Not because you don't care, but because love is not enough. When someone needs you to stay broken, to stay connected, you can't shrink to be digestible. You can't return to an emotional identity that was rooted in suppression, just to keep peace. Growth demands space. It requires the death of roles, the end of dynamics that were built on unconscious agreements. And when you break those agreements, you go, they feel betrayed. But that betrayal is sacred. It's necessary. Because if you don't betray the roles that are killing you, you'll betray your soul instead. True healing isn't about perfection. It's about sovereignty. You don't owe explanations for becoming clear. You don't need to defend your boundaries. You don't have to keep proving your worth by staying in places that can't hold you. Detachment isn't bitterness. It's maturity. It's knowing what you will and will not carry anymore. It's knowing you can love people deeply and still walk away. It's learning to let the bridges burn when the only way to cross them is to self-abandon. But here's the beautiful part. The more you heal, the more you attract those who recognize your truth, not your utility. People who don't need to be rescued to feel connected. People who celebrate your boundaries because they've built their own. People who don't flinch at your silence because they've met themselves in theirs. Healing might cost you familiarity, but it brings you authenticity. And when you meet someone from this place, the connection doesn't ask you to shrink. It invites you to rise. If healing makes you harder to love, for those who only knew you through your suffering, let them hate you. If your evolution makes people uncomfortable, let them sit in it. You weren't meant to stay small, to make others feel safe. You were meant to remember yourself fully, unapologetically, irrevocably. Let them go. Let the old you go. Let the noise fade, and in the silence that remains, you'll find your power again.